finishes with the same thing. And you never cut it out, no? Do you?
No, I just do it raw. What can I say?
You already started.
I started.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm like an old guy. All my videos start with "Is this thing on?" and they generally end with like, "How do you stop this?"
All right. Well, you want to start this?
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. We're here with Saji, Saji, and Brandon. We're going to talk about Mesa, the new Indian restaurant that's opened up here in the Riverside, Avondale, Ortega area. And we're going to talk about the long journey and part of that process and whatever else comes up along the way. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, I just, if I may add,
Please
like, because, well, we met through Mesa and we knew just that one part. But then we kind of, when we were talking more, and every time we met at the restaurant, we learned so much more, and your whole family is just beautiful story. Your husband, what he does, and how you, Brendan, help your father. I think, like, yeah, if we have time, it would be great to share that, because it's like, it's not just, Mesa is just this beautiful, like, pearl on top of the, like, your whole family effort for the city. Yeah, so I hope we're going to touch base on everything. Yeah. And it's Saji and Brendan George. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's maybe start with, are you from Jacksonville?
So I came here from Syracuse. We came from India to Syracuse, New York. I was about 13 years old with my father. And I went to school there. I went to college there. I studied nutrition there. So from there, we never actually took a vacation. It was always, when any guests come, we take them to Niagara Falls. We didn't have money for a vacation to fly somewhere or something. So finally, when I graduated college, is when we took a trip to Orlando, to the Disney World. And we were like, as soon as the plane was landing, we thought we landed in India, like, because of the palm trees. Like, we thought, oh my goodness, like, where are we? Like, you know, we never knew something outside of Syracuse and the freezing weather existed, like in Florida. We've never been exposed to it.
Because you're from the southern part of India.
Mm-hmm. Came straight from southern part of India to cold. I always tell my husband it was like minus 50 wind chill factor, and he's like, where were you, in Antarctica? all of these guys tease me about that, but it felt like minus 50 wind chill factor, you know. So we came for vacation. We're like, we're moving to Florida. Like, what are we doing? Shoveling snow. We would just literally just go out to school or go out to work and come back and like watch sitcoms on TV. Didn't go outside for anything else. But the summers were beautiful. It was like a beautiful lake there. So that's how we ended up like in Florida. And
so what year was it then when you moved here to Florida?
1990. I just graduated Syracuse University from nutrition. And my first job was at Melbourne. It was a Holmes Regional Medical Center, but we literally like rented a van and went from all these different cities, and I had interviews set up at different hospitals because I was a clinical dietitian. So had interviews set up, and Holmes Regional seemed like it was near Cape Canaveral. So we moved to Melbourne, Florida, Palm Bay, Florida, and my brother got a job. So whenever we move, the whole unit moves. So it's not like, I say, oh, I'm moving to Florida, I got a job there. No, the whole family is moving. So, and then my brother got a job in Jacksonville. He works at Mercedes, like the distribution center. So when he got a job to Jacksonville, okay, you better find a job in Jacksonville. So we're moving to Jacksonville, yeah. So we ended up moving to Jacksonville around within a year or so. Like, I don't think we stayed in Melbourne for too long. So from there, I found a job at Methodist Medical Center. Now it's called UF or Shands. That was my first job in Jacksonville as a dietitian.
How interesting. I did not see, like, I thought I knew something. But no, I didn't realize you were a clinical dietitian.
Yes.
We get to meet our friends more from these longer conversations than we actually get in the events that we share together. Because there's always other people as well, and now we get to have a one-on-one conversation and really learn your complete history.
That's so interesting. I have a question about, can I just quickly like digress? So I read that nutrition was, as a discipline, was developed from, how would you call it, like very basically like housekeeping?
Home science.
Home science.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. The first class was food science 101. We had to take cooking classes, home economics, that kind of
home economics. Yeah. Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But but dietitian is different from nutritionist.
Yeah. So dietitian, they teach. So we did have to take like all these home cooking. Like I had made yeast rolls. We had a Betty Crocker cookbook that we had to purchase, and this is part of the cooking 101. And we made dishes from it. I remember making. We had a test where I had to make a cold soup, and I'm like, what's a cold soup? Who drinks a cold soup? And then I discovered this whole Mexican gazpacho soup and all this thing. So we had that whole class, like learning, made pies, apple pie. Like in New York, living in New York, like we went apple picking. And I remember back in India, fruits were not like easy to get, especially apples. It's like such a, I think we don't grow apples. It needs to be in a colder environment, right?
Makes sense.
So I think it's being brought in from some other place, maybe up northern part of India or something. So apples, when we went apple picking, it was the most amazing thing, like apple trees. And you mean you can eat all the apples you can eat? So we would like literally, oh my God, run and take a bite, throw that down, get another one, just like take a bite, throw that down. We just went like, it was like a la 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 land of apples, And I remember we brought back like bags of apples and put it in our porch. And I just kept making pies, like pie. I can make pies like that.
Can you still eat apples?
Yeah, I love apples.
Okay.
Apples and peanut butter is one of my favorite things.
She loves apples too.
Well, don't they say like an apple a day keeps? I don't know. I don't know if your father would agree with this, but
he eats apples himself too.
Okay.
To keep himself away.
So when did the concept of Mesa start?
So all along, So I was a dietitian. Then when I was pregnant with him, I was still working as a dietitian. And then as he was in a daycare, I didn't like being like the shift from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. thing. It used to break my heart to leave him with the babysitter or somebody. So I was like, okay, I got to find another job that's gonna help me be more free. So I found pharmaceutical sales rep job. Which was you get your job done, and I was always a morning person, so I'd get my job done so I can pick him up from daycare sooner, because I wanted to be with him. He was my first baby, 1996 he was born. So that was after that, like it was just like always I loved cooking and feeding people. Like I would literally like I didn't know how to make smaller quantity, and my husband would say, "Why are you making this much sambar? Like a pot of this?" And then I'd be like, "Oh, we just give it to people, So I would distribute to all kinds of neighbors or friends or whoever. Yeah. So then the whole time, like I always had a dream. We would watch these Chef's Table, or like, it's so exciting. It seemed like a magical place. Like wow, you create. Food and people get excited about it, like that reaction, when they love something, and then at the same time the knowledge of like Indian spices, how that's healing, like we wanted to put all that together. And then I don't know if Brandon remembers, I would wake up like sometimes 4 a.m. and stuff, and I would have a yellow notepad and I would just write menu ideas, any coffee shop idea. If you even look at my phone, I still have from 2016 or whenever I got the phone, like just ideas that come up. Like if I see something, we go somewhere, oh, that sounds like a cool idea. I would love to have one of these things, you know? So just wanting to serve people was my main thing. Like I just love cooking and making people happy through food.
And to this day, we have books throughout the house of just menu ideas, recipe ideas, all like head to toe, just filled up with that. So she definitely had that passion throughout her entire life.
So when did you apply that to start actually looking at locations and then putting it into a full business plan? How long did you start working that part of it?
So while I was a pharmaceutical rep, I always had my eye on like locations and space for lease. Like I literally wanted even just like a window for me to like just give people food. So I would food truck idea came up, like Jackson Hole's picking up like. But then I thought, oh, I'm not very mechanical. If the thing breaks down, like I can't fix it. I'm gonna be in a mess, you know. So that idea didn't go too well. But all along, like, kept calling like spaces that's available. I remember we went to this one place it was in downtown. It was called the Bank the Barbecue. And me and him, I'm like, Brandon, this space is available. Let's go see this guy. So we go, and we had no plans. Like, we don't have anything written on the book.
No business plan,
nothing. We're just like, oh, we'll just go, you know, meet this guy, see what he has to say. And he's just like, oh, have you ever owned a restaurant before? And we were like, no. And then he was like, I hate to break it to you, I wouldn't give you a restaurant. Like, you have no experience. You have no idea what you're getting into. This is the toughest industry. People with experience don't even make it, you know. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say go do something else. Like Brandon was so disheartened. I think he was like, oh, we have like no hope. Like there's, right? Do you remember the feeling?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we went to so many different people who dissuaded us from it. There was a food truck that I remember in Southside. It's actually it was an Indian food truck. It might have been an Indian food truck that we went to. And the guy just said, absolutely do not go into the restaurant industry. It's the last thing you want to do for your mental health, for your physical health. And I mean, countless times we've heard from other restaurateurs. We have lots of people we frequented a lot of restaurants, and they just kept telling us, don't open a restaurant. Whatever you do, not do it. So
yeah, but there was this little screwdriver like just kept on like saying, you know, like at least try it. Like if you don't make it, you don't make it. At least try it. So and places after places, Springfield, we both love like a new restaurant idea, concept, food hall. We get so excited. Anytime we go to any town, he's the one who's planning like this whole
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, every like we gotta go here. You know, this is our agenda. Our agenda is food tour. You know, like where can we go? Get make the maximum amount of like to see different concepts and different things. It was just natural. I think that was just naturally in him. Not thinking.
That was my question. So, do you think like you were, since you were a little baby, kind of influenced indirectly?
I mean,
by your mom's passion?
For sure. I think there's like the whole eating to live and living to eat. I was definitely on the more living to eat side. So I was definitely, I guess influenced definitely by her being in the kitchen all the time and like making food for our family, and then hosting parties and, serving food that way. So, I mean, we've always been around food when it comes to that. I mean, it's so central to Indian culture too, as well as like you never really truly enjoy food if you're just eating it yourself. You're always wanting to gift it and give it to other people and share. So it's like, even when we're eating together, we never want to serve our plate first or start our meal first. We always have to make sure everybody else has their plates first so that they can enjoy it.
Well, we're so glad that you did persist, because now it's my favorite restaurant, the restaurant you've opened, because the dishes that you brought, they're not traditionally dishes that you find at other Indian restaurants, which I like. I love regular Indian food, but they all come from a similar menu, and yours is different. Why is that?
So I'm from South India, so it's not really, I don't think, highlighted as much. Most like in England, right? Like their national dish is chicken tikka masala. So it's more Northern Indian, where it's a little bit, I would say, anglicized, or with the adding cream to the curry or whatever to make it a little bit lighter. So every restaurant you go to, I think people think that's what everybody wants. So they're afraid to step out and feature their particular regional cuisine. You know, what if they don't like it? And we were afraid too. Like, what if people don't like it? But we don't know any better than that's what we cooked. We don't cook every single day chicken tikka masala or butter chicken. That's not what we do.
Just a special occasion kind of thing that we would do that.
Yeah. So, or like we'll make a pizza and put chicken tikka, butter chicken on it, or something like that. So, and Brandon's like, Mom, let's be authentic to what we cook. You know, he's born and raised here. So I always, when I go to the table, I tell people, like, whatever things you can't pronounce, I probably came up with that idea. And I said, things you recognize, my son's idea. And I always say, this is a fusion of like Indian cooking, but at the same time adding some like say American food, let's say pizza or flatbread or a chicken wing or a burger, but has Indian spices in it. Is how he created a lot of the dishes, you know? So it's a perfect balance. There's something for everybody. You know, if they're coming in looking for truly an experience, our culture, South Indian thing, there are foods that are in our large plates or even an appetizer that is truly unique to us. And I think that's what got most people very excited to come in and try, wow, what is this? Like, we never had this. Like, what are these flavors? Like, it really excited people to, instead of like, you go to, let's say a Thai restaurant, right? Oh, yeah, I'm going to have the chicken pad thai, or I'm gonna, you already know this is what you're gonna have, and you know what to expect. The taste gonna be, and whether sometimes you might like it in a particular restaurant, sometimes you're like, oh, this is a little off. It's a little bit more fish sauce, or whatever. But you know exactly what that is. They come to Mesa, they're like, what is this? I've never had this.
Well, and also the things that you make, you can tell that the ingredients are better. And a lot of things I've had not even hot, brought out like dosas, and they'll be brought out just like flat bread that's just left somewhere. I don't know for how long, but when yours come out, they're hot and the flour tastes different. Everything tastes different that you've used. So I've had these people who occasionally will have dishes with a similar name, but they still don't taste the same as when I have them at Mesa.
I don't think I've had a dosa outside Mesa.
Really?
Usually it's
I had them
really
at a couple
big.
places in Berlin.
Okay, yeah. Maybe.
I think, the biggest thing is the oils that we use. So that's one thing that we never wanted to compromise on. So we actually make our own ghee in-house, which is clarified butter. So we actually take butter, let it sit overnight, cook it down, strain out the milk solids, and then keep that butter fat that's there.
You made ghee before you became a vegan.
And that really gives that like authentic flavor to our dosa and to all of everything that's cooked on our flat top, from our burgers to our like the pav buns that come with the bhaji. To our burger buns, every single thing touches that ghee, so it has that, I don't know, that buttery flavor. And again, it's homemade, so it's not even, we're not buying it from the store or anything like that, so it's not processed in any way. We have it completely controlled from the butter to the plate, basically. And then going off of that as well, like our fryer, we use expeller pressed palm oil, so even though it costs probably triple the price of canola oil, Crisco, Mazola, which you'll find at like McDonald's or any of these fryers that are in any of the restaurants, we just really wanted to make sure that, and even our curries are cooked in coconut oil as well, organic coconut oil. So we just wanted to make sure that the oils that people are consuming are high quality oils, because that other stuff that's out there makes your stomach hurt. It goes into your cells. It really affects your health long term as well as short term, because people have that gastrointestinal distress when they eat that bad oil.
That's right. Yeah, I've frequently mentioned when people talk about breaking down the things that we know and talking about fats and things related to cholesterol and issues that build up over time. I said, there's not ever really been a study done on people who've only consumed healthy oils and healthy fats. I said, I don't think there's actually any problem, and I'm just basing that on the anecdotal evidence of my ancestors, none of whom had health care and before them, and they generally lived to be 80, 90, 100 years old, and they eat tons of eggs and butter, and they eat back fat, which is actually like lard from pork. I mean, but I think it's still different. As much as I would never want to go near all that stuff, to be honest, that's not in my diet anymore. I'm more on the plant-based things.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've also got somebody at home who cooks amazing food, which I think must be, to a degree, why you create what you create, and why you mentioned when you go on vacation, you look for certain places, because when you have very good food at home, you don't want to go out and eat and pay extra money for subpar food.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of it really is. Just so many of it is the same big truck that serves the same restaurants over and over with the same food that's produced in ways that, for many reasons, I don't condone. But then when you have somebody who makes unique meals like yourself, cares about the ingredients, the food, the quality, and the preparation, I mean, I just never see where that business model goes out of fashion. And I'm so glad that you stuck it out and didn't listen to the people who would discourage you from doing it just because you were new.
Yeah, and I think like it's such an interesting also idea. Like if you've never been in restaurant business, I'm not going to give you an opportunity, but then how do you start? Right? Where do you...
Yeah, I remember Springfield, like I would call these numbers, they'd literally hang up the phone when, when they ask, like, have you, and I would walk in and like, how did you do it? Like, how did you start this? Like, somebody gave them an hour. It was like a very exciting thing, like to discover, how do you even do this? I remember a friend of mine called me and said, Saji, there's a space available for lease. And I said, Brandon, let's go check it out. And we went there. Again, we thought, we didn't think we would get it, right? So this was like during COVID, like a lot of restaurants had shut down. 2020, like this restaurant was a French restaurant before, and it was closed. After that, there was a J. William Culinary. He did like takeout or something.
Like meal prep. He's like a bodybuilder, and he used to do meal prep.
And we didn't think we would. Again, it would be a no, but we just went and checked it out. And I remember Brandon's reaction, like so clearly, he was like, Mom, this is too big, we can't do this, like there's a bar. And I'm like, I know, but we can maybe close the door. Like, if we had no experience, we were ourselves starting to get scared. It was a very high risk.
Because it actually became,
can we do it? Yeah, can we actually pull this through without ever? My only restaurant experience is working at Burger King in 1984 in Syracuse, when I was a junior in high school. And it's funny, like when I tell customers that, like I remember recently there was a group of older gentlemen and ladies, and they're like, oh yeah, I heard you worked in Four Seasons, right? Like, yeah, you have experience. I'm like, and he kept going, like 5-star, all this, whatever, triple diamond or whatever restaurants and everything. And then I said, my only job experience was at Burger King. They just busted out laughing. It was so funny, So when, when we first started, like I said, we didn't think we would get this. And we were like, all the guy asked was, this was the only person who didn't ask us if we ever owned a restaurant before. He just said, this is it was a real estate agent, right? So he doesn't care. Like he just wants to get this.
Can you pay the rent?
Yeah, he said, can you pay this rent? And we both said yes. And then it said, it's asses, don't ask us any questions, like if the equipment's working or anything. And we just, I don't know what came over us. We just said,
let's do it.
He's like, let's do it, Mom, And so we just started with it. Like, we had no idea how much money we would need. We had no idea
all the renovations and
what's it going to take. And we just knew, like, we just
so
attacked
was it like
one thing at a time.
montage after that? It was just like all hands on deck, all the family and friends and everybody come out.
I mean, a lot of it was just us two initially starting it off and everything. I mean, we went in there kind of, I guess we had a lot of friends and family, and I guess like people.
We hired people to do. We didn't have we didn't want to spend like millions trying to we had no idea if this is going to succeed or not, right? So we didn't want to put in that kind of investment in, but when we didn't really have. So we just like, okay, we need to change this floor. Let's get somebody to change this floor. And actually that guy kind of screwed us, I would say. He came in and put grout, like all, and it was night, like dark, it was really dark. He didn't put the lights or whatever. And we were so gullible and innocent, like naive, I would say naive. He said, yeah, the grout has to seal, like a cure. We were like, oh, okay. We believed him. He took the money and ran off. And this poor Brandon had to drill. It dried and like crusted over the entire floor, the front room. It was a tile floor. I have pictures of him literally with the drill trying to take the grout off the lines, and this guy wouldn't come back. I'm in Boston now. Like, okay. I kept calling him like, are you going to come back and finish this job? Oh, gosh. So, it was just like learning all these things. Like, it was a great, I feel like looking back, I think we learned so much in every aspect of building this, like what it took. I don't think we ever felt like this is a burden or anything. We just like, it was just like, let's get it.
It's a new problem. It's a new thing that we have to handle.
We just have to fix this, like whatever it is. And it's a 60-year-old building. I have customers come and tell me like they remember when it was a steak and egg place. They used to come in, after prom or to get sobered up. And I literally want to make a list of every person that says that and have like a reunion or something. Because so many people keep saying they remember coming there, It went through so many transitions of restaurant. Even the owner of Pastiche had come in one time and saw and wished us good luck and all that. That was very, very nice. His wife came in to dine with a bunch of friends. And we were completely, I'm telling you. So I tell tables this, like, to inspire others. If we can do this, anybody can do it. You just need that passion and that drive to get it done, and you don't need a business plan. We had no idea what area we were in. This is not an area we ever came to.
We live on South Side of everything. So.
We only knew about Bay Meadow, South Side, or the beaches, or whatever.
It turns out you're in a perfect area.
Exactly.
You're in the middle of all the foodies.
Oh,
yeah, we had no idea of anything. So God showed us an opportunity, and we ran with it. And I would ask people, initially we didn't even get our chairs. He ordered all these nice chairs, rattan and all this thing. And
it was during that COVID time, so all the supply chain was messed up, so everything got stuck overseas. I think got stuck in New York for almost, 3 months or something. So, so we actually went to IKEA, put together chairs from IKEA, and then actually got tables from our neighbor who was able to make these nice granite tables that we still have to this granite tables that we still have to this day. So each of them is a unique piece. And then we actually had that main bar area where we literally just had those IKEA chairs, had 8 tables or 8 people set up, and would do these private dinners. Actually, my friends were the first customers that we had, so it was actually 8 of my friends who came in. And even for that, she had done 50, 100 people parties for New Year's and everything, but for some reason that 8 group party that we had was the most stressful event ever. Just even coming up with a menu, plating things up, and just the idea of it being our restaurant and actually having to serve people. I don't
We've never done this.
Yeah, so. we didn't have a way to take their payments, so we had to use Venmo for that. So they Venmoed, and they Venmoed us tips on it and everything. So, and our first employee was Ariz, who's actually our executive chef to this day. So he helped us make the menu. It was just us 2 and Ariz, and it was just 3 of us making it for them. And then from there, we just kind of started we had an email, a Gmail account, and just had people email us reservation requests. So people would come in and be maybe 2 people, 4 people per night. And even then we were still stressed out.
No, but initially we continuously did these private dinners, 8, 10 people. And he would create a menu especially for that,
just for that group.
Yeah, but mainly it was already ideas that we have on our menu. We would pick a couple of appetizers. So it's some guests coming home for dinner, couple of appetizers, choice of an entree if they're vegetarian or non-vegetarian, and a dessert, And to this day, 5-course tasting menu. And people would come at the door, "Are you guys open?" "Oh, we're doing a private dinner, and that actually became so exclusive that people were like, "Hey, did you see it on the Nextdoor app? Mesa's open and they're doing a private dinner," So we didn't even plan that, but it became like such an exclusive thing. Oh, we got to get in and see what that's all about.
Actually, funny enough, to this day, people still think it's like hard to get into Mesa because we're doing these private dinners. They think it's like, oh, we have to email, we have to do all these different things. They don't know that's like a normal restaurant now that the people could just come into. So I've even, I guess,
Although people still better make reservations.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah,
Yeah, you're still going to have trouble getting a table on it if you wait until the last minute.
Oh, for sure. On the weekends, definitely. But yeah, it was just a crazy, crazy experience just to have people have this kind of hype around it and the initial parts of it, because we just never expected it for our restaurant to be at that level. We just thought it would be a couple of our friends coming in every single day, like that like local neighborhood cafe or something. And then it just evolved from there. We finally got our furniture in. Once we got our furniture, then everything just took off from there. So we started offering the a la carte. Actually, we only did the tasting menu completely. It was just the 5-course tasting in the entire restaurant. And I think even at that point, people were saying that we shouldn't even do a la carte. We should just continue doing the tasting menu continuously. But then I think we just wanted to start offering a couple a la carte options. So we started like our first menu was fall. I think fall was the first menu. And our first dish that we came up with that was like one of our signature dishes was like our sweet potato samosas with our cranberry chutney.
Fall,
So that was like, we actually did that on one of our tasting menus and people loved it so much. So we offered that as like one of our first like appetizers. And then every time we just kept coming up with seasonal menus after that. And then people just, kept wanting to come back for the different options.
Yeah, and I love, excuse me, I love the seasonal menu idea, because I think it also ties into that Ayurvedic principle, right? That everything changes, the weather changes, the environment changes, so should the food and what we do, right? And I think it's so great, and it also ties again to the seasonality, or I guess the availability in season of the ingredients. Yeah, so I think our first time was actually around Christmas 2021. So it was already not private dinners, but I think you were
just started. Yeah.
Yes, I think you were started moving away from the tasting, and I remember we sat outside, and I love the patio. Yeah, I think it's because I mean there are places with patios, but yours is it's very intimate, and even though it's on the like one of the main streets in the neighborhood, it's still, they feel like very like secluded and protected.
Actually, she's the one who kind of you have a story with the plants as well. Like, so she wanted them to like grow and make it almost like a kind of like a forest or like a wall that's there. So she used to like plant the plants and like talk to them and sing to them. So there's her energy is throughout the entire restaurant.
I can feel it. Yeah.
So, I mean, there was no sprinkler system. So even when we signed up the lease, it was hot summer. We started in March, right?
March, yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't start till September. I would come every day and water the plants. I put like Miracle Grow in every hole. I'm like, like it was just a little plant. I'm like, I hope, you just grow like, and because
those jasmine plants were just little plants?
Yeah. It was just a little jasmine plant. And I remember in the spring, the smell, like when now the Confederate jasmine is all bloomed, like yellow. Have you seen it? And I remember just watering the plants. I got my first server watering the plants. Like I remember this girl was walking, and I'm just watering. She was walking her dog, and I said, "Hey, I'm opening a restaurant here. Do you know anybody?" We had no employees, right?
Literally us.
So we're like, "Do you have any employees that want to work here?" Oh no, she thought like I thought she was a student, because she's like really little petite person, and she's like, I'm not a student, I'm a teacher actually. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but and then she goes, I used to work at Ruth Chris, and I got so excited. I'm like, Ruth Chris, someone with experience, probably more experience than me. So I'm like, come bring her in. And I think he was fixing something.
I was doing the drilling the floors.
Yeah, and she came in, and she was our first employee that we hired, and she's amazing. Like, and she's like, she said, I'm looking for something to do. I'm a teacher, but I want to work on the weekends, make some extra money. So I'm like, yes, like I brought her in, and then after that one,
we started putting ads out. I think it was ads, or maybe people reached out. I can't remember exactly. I don't know if it was
like Indeed.com.
I think it was Indeed that we put out, and then we had like 3 or 4 people reach out. We interviewed them, and so David is one of our original servers as well. He's still with us to this day. So he was
David's awesome.
Yeah, so he was there from the beginning. I remember actually one of our first dinners as well. So my cousin Jensen, who was our first pastry chef, before he worked with us, he worked at Orsay. So when he actually used to have like conversations with them, they got super excited about our concept as well. So he actually brought their entire team to come dine at Mesa before we were, still in that kind of introductory phase. So, it's an amazing restaurant. And we had like 20 of their people who was there. I mean, everyone from like their high level chefs who had worked in like places, executive chefs who were in New York, their bartenders, servers, like there's 20 plus people. And we actually gave them the entire meal for free because we wanted like more so like their like feedback to us than anything, because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how things were supposed to taste. And we actually literally went out there, served them the food, had the 3 servers who were our first people, and kind of announced every course of it, like kind of brought them through the entire tasting menu. And that was like one of our first like true experiences where we came back and they gave us the feedback that the food was incredible. And for us to hear from what we thought was the best restaurant in Jacksonville at the time, like that they thought our food was good, it was like, I think we have something here. So that was.
And I just want to also
for me, Matthews, Orsay, and you guys are by far the top 3 restaurants in Jacksonville, and really anywhere in Florida. Out of all the places that I've been throughout the whole state, you guys have just really done an amazing job. You're my favorite restaurant around. I love it.
You wanted to say something, Saji. About
it's my nephew Jensen. I want to give like a shout out to him. He was working at Orsay, and he would come in. We couldn't really afford to hire. We had like, we were just like how many, 5-10 customers?
It's like 8-10 people.
Yeah. So he would come in. He would have a shift at Orsay. He would come in. His idea was that semi-freddo, like in a teacup.
No, we still have.
We still have it, yeah. And he made these chai semi-freddo with these Parle G biscuit. People went crazy for the biscuit, and they were and all of a sudden the sales of the Parle G biscuits went up too. They were looking up like, what kind of biscuits are these? But I'm like, it's not going to taste the same. My nephew did something to it. So he would come in and make the desserts and then go to work, and I said, Jensen, I haven't paid you, we haven't. Like, it's okay, Andy, you don't have to pay me. So he literally did it on his free time. That was so heart-touching. And I think eventually he left Orsay when we started picking up, He would come and make desserts for us. And it was like, we didn't want to do the typical gulab jamun, every restaurant has that, like, soaked in a, sugar syrup or whatever. So he did these more... like more elegant, more little bit elevated desserts. Had Indian spices or flavors like cardamom chai or different.
Salted jaggery creme brulee was one of his most popular desserts. That thing was amazing.
Did you?
I had the creme brulee.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That was like in 2021, yeah. So around that time when you guys might have came in first.
It just really elevated. Every component, like it had like a fancy component to it. Something that I wouldn't, that's not something I grew up, like if I make like a rice pudding, it's just rice pudding, like it wouldn't have like another component, crunch component, this component, So he came up with that whole concept for us. And then he left, he went to New York and he got like a job in Michelin star restaurant. And I remember we started doing brunch too, and he had the best brunch stuff, like all the anything to do with sweet, like
cardamom
French toast or
dosa waffles,
pancake. Yeah, amazing. People loved it, and I remember him, like I was like, oh my god, he's leaving us, So he literally had a folder, a pastry handover of every recipe, exact directions. He's such a, like, pastry, you have to be, it's a science, chemistry, whatever, it's exact science, there's no winging it. So and he handed us that before he left. Wow. So I'm grateful to this day to him for starting it. I mean, that put us also on the map, I would say. People are like, wow, what are these? They get excited about what is the new dessert. And then he, kept having, and we hired another girl, an Indian girl that also had a similar passion for desserts, and she would create desserts too. Slightly different, not your norm Indian dessert,
That was Neva.
Neva.
Shout out Neva.
Yeah. So she was amazing. And then with Jensen too and Josh, they did the Mesa's lab. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like it's a
that's what you host sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, on
Monday.
Sunday. Monday.
Once a month.
So basically what happened is after service every night, we kind of would sit together. Josh and I actually, he was basically we've been friends since middle school, but he kind of, both of us had our own paths and everything, and then we ended up, he actually came to the restaurant randomly one day and had like a bottle of wine for me and like just said like, hey, I'm back in town or whatever. And then I said, if you want to, you can just come work for us, just no strings attached, just come hang out with us for a little bit. And he ended up coming on as a server assistant. So he basically would just help bus tables, clean tables off, just help servers with whatever they needed. And then eventually he started wanting to do more of the kitchen stuff. So he started working in the kitchen a little bit. So he kind of rotated through the different areas in the kitchen, worked in the bar at times, worked as a dishwasher at times. So basically like what an owner would do, like basically where he was needed, he would slot himself into those places. And at the time, I had a little apartment on Myers Street. So he was actually living with me at that time. And every night after service, we'd get back and we would talk about how like we felt like the restaurant scene in Jacksonville didn't have anything new or exciting. We kind of got a little bit bored with the mundanity of like the day-to-day kind of activities that we were doing, even though we were changing up the menus and everything. It was just still the same thing over and over again. So I told him, I was like, we should start like a little supper club, dinner club kind of situation, and just see what happens. And both of us were kind of going back and forth about starting it. He actually went on a trip, I think it was to Utah or something, for a hiking trip, and I was back in Jacksonville, and I randomly just sent him that I made the Instagram account and I posted the first like reservation link, and it was like Korea, and I had the date, and it was 3 weeks or 2 weeks from that date. And I said, all right, we're doing it. Like we talked about it. We're just going to figure it out. And he literally came back from the trip, and I think he had 5 days or 6 days to come up with the entire menu. So Jensen, Josh, and I kind of got together, created the menu very, very last second, and ended up doing our first Mesa lab. And then Kendall, who is our photographer and our server as well, so she actually ran the entire front of house, took photos, did everything from that side. But our first lab was definitely not the most clean and effective because we had no idea what we were doing. The first dinner, I think you attended that, it was 4 hours long, and it was outside because we had no idea what we were doing. It was like a course, 6 courses or 7 courses of all Korean dishes. And we were like helping plate it up together.
But they were like full portions?
Not full portion, like tasting. So basically,
okay. So you
one or
eat
two.
it.
Exactly, it's like 1 or 2 biters or whatever. So people would be satiated at the end of the courses,
but it's very difficult to get and plate and have everything ready at the right moment.
For sure.
So
And
I
keep it
understand
hot,
how that
exactly.
can.
They would come explain each course
And that too. So that was a big thing, is that it was not necessarily just us cooking, because a lot of times the chefs don't really get to see customers' reactions or actually get to interact with customers. So we actually were able to come outside and actually explain the dishes to everybody. We actually got to say what it took to make that dish, the components, maybe the history behind each dish. And it was
You want some water?
I just drank that.
Okay. So it was definitely a learning experience. Then after that, every month we would post we'd post the photos, and then we'd post the next post for the next reservation. And then once it's sold out, it's sold out. So we'd always do like 12 seats, and it was just us 3 cooking in the kitchen, and we'd do an alternating between a culture and a concept. So we do like a different country or a different concept. So we did like breakfast for dinner. We did aphrodisiacs when it was like February time. We did pretty much every country that we can imagine. We were doing like Mexico, Indonesia, China, all over the place. And then we would try to pull from the different chefs that were in the kitchen whenever they were interested in something. So we'd ask like one of our other people to come join us for one. And then we actually started to branch out even further and actually doing restaurant collabs. So we did one with a supper club called the Black Duck Supper Club. And that was one of our first like collaborations with another kitchen. So that was actually really fun. We did an open fire concept. So it was literally everything cooked over, or some component of every dish cooked over an open fire. So we sold, that was our first one that we did 24 seats for that. So that was like really exciting to be able to go from 12 to 24. And then after that, we did Chancho King, which is a new restaurant, Ecuadorian cuisine that opened up in Murray Hill. So shout out to Jason and Maria. I love that restaurant. I've been there so many times, like more times than I can be happy to admit. But I definitely really enjoyed what they were doing. And then I even just reached out to them saying, hey, do you guys want to do a collaboration? And then I actually ended up working out where they brought on 3 of their people. So it was Francois, Maria, and Jason who worked with them. And then we just did 3 of our chefs as well and collaborated. And then that was one of the most, fun experiences when you get to work with another kitchen rather than it being like competitive. Because I feel like the old school way of restaurants is like, we don't want to work with them because that's our competition.
Right.
Rather than doing that, we wanted to like actually collaborate because there's so much you can learn from other people who have had so many different experiences. And we just, it was such an organic experience whenever we worked with both of those restaurants. So hopefully in the future, like the future Mesa Lab, because Josh was part of it, Jensen was part of it, they all left. And then Neva also, who's our previous pastry chef, she left as well. So like all the founding members of it kind of have gone on to do other things. So my future, the idea that I want to do with it is to constantly do these collaborations with new restaurants. So just to keep reaching out to different groups, different people, different chefs who are passionate and interested, just to make that kind of restaurant experience interesting for us, because it's really cool to be able to learn from each other. And then also for our customers as well, because they love that experience of being able to come for like a special evening where it's like a whole new experience, whole new dishes that you never would get like at our restaurant or their restaurant that we're doing the collaboration. So
I think it's really amazing the way you're able to bring not only this this new concept with food, but the way that you bring the support that you have as a family and this idea of supporting one another, you bring as well to the open market. And I think, as you state, a lot of people are afraid of this because they feel like it's going to take something away from their opportunity in the future. But by collaborating with people, by sharing your ideas, it as you mentioned, it has made you guys stronger, and other people have gone on to do things that they want to do, and that creates this dynamic where people are coming back and going back and forth to have more versatility in their jobs and in their life, and you're getting to have a lot of input from various people. I think that's really beautiful that you guys managed to find that. I have to admit that I didn't until my business was quite mature. It took time for me to see that that's how it really works. When I realized that all the really successful people, they're never upset with anybody. They're never against anybody. They're just smiling, and they seem like they're always just positive. There's no way they don't have problems. The more you deal with and the more of a footprint you have and the more successful you become, the more problems you're going to have to handle and deal with. But to have that positive outlook and to maintain that keeps the spirit of why we do it.
100%.
I think that's great that you're able to share that, and also that you're able to share this unique factor that you have of being able to bring the family vibe and the support of a family to this environment.
Yeah, and all the stuff, like, I mean, we literally call them Mesa family. I mean, and even, I want to say even Josh, his last day, or we wanted to give him, normally when someone leaves, you give them a party. I've been asking him, hey, when are we going to do that? So he texted everyone saying, hey, I'm doing a thank you farewell. He's cooking for us.
He made a whole Korean barbecue. Like, literally, I mean, you guys should have seen the spread. It was ridiculous. There was like 6 different types of meat, 6 different types of kimchi, like all kinds of different things, and invited our entire staff. We all sat out on the patio, which was like a beautiful experience. We're dancing, like partying out there. So it's just that's just a testament to his character and how he is as a person. Definitely he would very selfless when he was working for us, and throughout. I mean, he really gave his all and heart into it.
Yes.
And she always says it's like an irreplaceable soul in person that we're sad to see him go, but like very, very excited to see what he's going to do. So
So I wanted to comment maybe and see if there's more input that you have, Brandon, about helping both your mother and your father. Most guys your age, I know, like myself, we were very rebellious. And I'm positive that you have a lot of your own ideas and opinions. How do you find this process of working together with family, and how do you overcome challenges that inevitably must happen, you know, when working together with family, if you want to talk about that.
I mean, we definitely, I think, yeah, she'll probably tell you, we butt heads a lot. Definitely, I mean, we have like literal fights and arguments and everything. She always calls, like, she says she's the boss of everyone else, and then I'm the boss of her. And we have a little bit of that little dichotomy that's there.
Even someone noticed, I found a, you know, Target has these like that $3, $5 section. So I found this hat that there was two of them. It said the real boss and the boss. So he wears the real boss hat. And actually someone noticed, oh, I see Brandon's wearing the real, I know who the real boss is. And I said, yes, he is the real boss, you know, because all from the beginning, it was law, everything is vision. And sometimes I'm maybe old school and I don't think like for example, he got this, our silverware. We had from the old restaurant silverware, the stainless steel silverware. And he orders from Pottery Barn this nice black silver. He always has exclusive taste anyway. I'm like, Brandon, why? You know, he goes, Mom, do you trust me? And when he asks me like that, I'm like, you know, it's like my train of thought, like complete light switch flip. I'm like, yes, I trust him, you know? So I'm like, yes, I trust you. He goes, trust me, this is going to make a difference. We're trying to elevate the dining experience. People will notice. And I actually say these things to the tables. You know, it was my son's idea to get this fancy silverware. I'm like, who's going to notice? And sure enough, the table will say, that's the first thing we noticed, you know? And I was like, okay, so every little thing, like, I remember that we have a blank wall, like there's no painting in one of the wall. And I kept going to like home goods store, taking pictures of painting, and I would send it to him. And he's like, no, he has no problem like just being blunt and saying no. And then I remember the first time in the fall, I'm a big Costco fan. So I go to Costco and they have these pillows. Come gather here, y'all. You know, all these pillows. And he walks
laugh,
in.
love, like all those kind of things.
He would walk in and he's like, oh my God, what the heck is this? He would like grab all the pillows and go throw it back in my car, you know? like we're returning this, you know? It's like, all we need is some Bible verses. And this, Mom, this is not an old lady's house. This is a restaurant. So all these, like, I remember all, like, initially you would want to get mad because you're like, you thought it was cool, you know? Come gather here, you know? You know, all these fall colors, pumpkin patch, you know, all these things. And every time he's like, no, we're not doing that, you know, like plain, and there's no question ifs about it, you know.
So definitely, I mean, we do butt heads. It's definitely challenging at times, but at the end of the day, we have like the same kind of philosophy, same undertone of like us wanting to provide like a high quality service, high quality food and everything. I mean, the biggest kind of conflict happens when we're doing menu changes, because we do that every 3 months. So every time that comes up, it's very challenging to get like the actual final menu ingredients, because she'll come up with an idea, I veto it, or
well, he's like always like thinks about the whole logistics. I'm probably much more, I'm like a kid, you know, in a candy store kind of thing, you know, like highly optimistic. Exactly. And he's much more grounded. I'm so glad. I think he got the better part of that from my husband. I'm the, you know, like just a risk taker and just whatever, you know, goes. And he's much more, I would say, solid, like grounded and down to earth. So I remember, but I do want to say something that, so I've been telling him to put mussels curry on the menu from the beginning. And it's like, how are we going to do that? Like, how are we going to, you know, he thinks about the whole logistics, like how is that going to be kept hot, or are we going to cook it first and then like how are we going to do this? And finally he agreed. 3 years in, he agreed to put it on the menu, and the first day we introduce it, we sell out of it. Yep. We sold out, and he's like, oh my God, this cooks faster than chicken. Like, it's like literally you put it in a pan, it opens up and it's ready, you know? And it's been a #1 seller right now this season. People like can't wait to try it, you know? And people are like, I've had customers tell me, Jason from Buckner's
Oh, yeah.
he loves mussels.
Jason Grimes, he's awesome.
So he was like, I remember last season, he's like, oh, I'm going to Orsay for some mussels frites. I'm like, you're going to Orsay? I said, I can make mussels curry, And he's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to put it on the next menu. And sure enough, I couldn't wait for him to come try it, And he goes, you know what? Everybody does mussels frites, but I've never had it with rice. Yeah. This is amazing. They love it with the rice too,
Mm-hmm. I remember actually, because I was working saute one of the days, which is like the curry station, and I came out, and he always sits at like the bar and like the corner and everything, and I came out one of the days, and normally we like shake hands, or he like nods, or he gives me a glass of wine or something. He just stood up, he's like, I need to give you a hug right now for the mussels, and I was like, all right, cool. So I mean, it definitely is like, it's very,
to me.
oh yeah. So I mean, she was right on that. So definitely, like, we might have our little disagreements, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's like we have that same wanting to provide high quality product, and like she said, like I'm thinking about how that kitchen actually flows, because we do have a very small kitchen. We have, one person on like the expo or executive station who finishes all the plate ups and makes sure they're garnished, and then gives it to the servers so that they can take it out to the tables, and then make sure the spice levels are good, because we don't want to give a person who's ordering mild, we don't want to give them a hot curry or anything. Then we have a position called garde-manger, or like pantry pastry. So they make all like the appetizers, the cold appetizers, and all the desserts. So Oscar works that station. And then Ariz is our executive chef, so he does all of the actual final plate ups. And then we have a saute section, so that's where all of our curries come off of. So that definitely is one of the busiest stations, as you can probably imagine. James works that station. And then we have a flat top section. That's where all of our sandwiches, all of our fried stuff, so like our French fries, some appetizers, our dosas, all those things come off that flat top section. And that's Nicole who works that, who's our female chef that's in the kitchen. So a little representation there, just respects for her for keeping up and really putting out a good quality product and everything. But we have a good team that's like a very close-knit family that's back there. But it's amazing that we're able to put out the volume and quantities that we're able to put out with such a small kitchen. And then we of course have a dishwasher as well. So, but I mean,
so he always makes sure when we do a menu that it's always workload is balanced. Yes. So it's not all on one station or the other one is just standing there like this. He always makes sure all the logistics of that.
Yeah, that is impressive. We install kitchen display systems for restaurants that have to have, it's all run by a computer. But they can only serve the same things. To change anything is a major overhaul. And they don't generally serve very good things. That's why they have these are like restaurants like Applebee's and like these big chain names. Well,
especially in association with them.
I don't mean to disparage. I don't mean to disparage these other restaurants, but I'm just saying that they have very sophisticated systems, and it still doesn't work to this level. So it's a very logistic process. I'm quite aware of the difficulties that come with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience too. Like when we first started off, it was pretty unbalanced at times. Certain menus would be very stressful in certain sections and everything. But as we kind of figured it out, that's where she would come up with an idea, throw it out there, and then I would say, like, how can we make sure that this section has this many dishes, this section has this many dishes, and we can make it make sense. Because it's easy when we're doing like 30, 40 people, but when we're hitting like 120, 130, 140 people, it's a completely different game. So we definitely needed to make sure that everyone is balanced out. Otherwise, the whole thing would, implode on itself and everything. So.
But the main thing with this whole, even our cooks and everything, is that what we want to impress upon is that love of cooking and to put that positive energy into that food, because a lot of restaurants, when you go, you can feel that, hey, like, who made this? Like, they didn't put any love into this, It's just like, oh, they put a bun, here you go, that kind of thing. So even it's hard, even he works these stations, and it's so hard when it's so busy, but to keep that, like, I have such a empathy and understanding now of kitchen staff, like how much they put into it. You got to keep like a straight head. You can get burned, like, and which he has, like, almost like a whatever
I've sliced my fingers off. Like, it's definitely all kinds of things that happen.
Like, if you're not paying attention, You got to be on top of it. You got to listen to the orders being called out. You got to get the food hot, get it to them within a certain minutes, because you don't want people waiting for a long time.
And all along you're hearing the kitchen. I can hear it in my like dreams still. I can even hear it right now, like the kitchen printer. So when you have like all the tickets that are lined up, you're just seeing everything that you have to make, but you keep hearing the printer going. So you're like, as soon as I finish everything that I have to do right now, I have another 15, 20 orders that are coming up. So
and you got to keep it straight, because you're like a chicken curry mild, a salmon curry hot, mussels curry medium, like what's what, which one is which, then another chicken curry hot, so which one is mild. I remember my husband worked one time, like in the beginning, he just wanted to try it. And I saw him getting so stressed because he couldn't remember, what is this one? Is this the hot one or the mild one? Because you can't like mess up, and put the wrong one in. And people get it like, oh my God, this is so hot, So it's highly stressful. Even my husband said, like, after he experienced it, he said, I thought my job was tough, like it's not easy. I have so much respect for restaurant. And then anybody can come in and write a bad review and you're done, right? So it's like, what did it take? But every time they're trying their best to put that all they got, like
you guys have epic reviews, by the way.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's again a testament to it's always like from top down, like her energy and leadership when it comes into the restaurant. Like it definitely is infectious to all of our servers. Like you'll see most of the reviews talk about, I mean, mainly a lot of it, I would say 80-90% of the reviews have to do with her talking to the tables, but then even underneath that, like all of our servers, they have such a understanding of the menu. They have such a passion when it comes to explaining things and knowing the dietary restrictions and making sure that people are able to enjoy their experience. And then even going one layer beneath that is like even the kitchen side of it as well. Like she said, like we want to make sure food is prepared hot, flavorful, making sure that it comes out like the way that we want it to consistently. So if you come, 1 month and you come the next month, it's going to taste the same because everything is standardized from that perspective. Yeah. So we want to make sure that, people are having that same high quality experience, no matter if it's their first or 50th time coming in.
And it's so, we've had exactly this conversation. I always have an awesome amount of respect for restaurants because it's like you have to pull off a symphony every night. Yeah. Every one of those parts has to work together in order to make that experience happen.
For sure.
And I can definitely attest to the fact that in my experience, I find it a great challenge. The more people are involved in any process, it becomes compoundingly more difficult. Just to get everybody there at one time is already an epic feat. Oh, yeah. Not to have to show up with a 5-man team that you only have 4 of now, or it's just an epic feat. And now in our modern times, people find it even more challenging than ever before. And so I just think it's amazing that you've created not only an environment that's capable of doing this based on professionalism, but you've been able to do it with a family, with a feeling of a comfortable family environment, and with a I'd say a sense that, as you mentioned, everybody there they know the whole process. They're not just with tunnel vision on the one thing that they do, and then they've totally forgotten if it's related to some other station or somebody else. Everybody's working together towards this goal, and that's amazing that you've been able to put that together in a time where it's more challenging than ever.
Thank you. I want to say kudos to Brandon for every time we have a new menu change. He calls in on a Monday. We go in there and cook the new item, because some of my chefs or cooks have never heard of this stuff. It's like rasam, it's a soup, South Indian soup. I say that's our chicken noodle without chicken, or the noodle, It's a lentil soup, but it's a cure-all, just like, so when we do bring it in, he goes out of his way to print a study manual, like pronunciation, what's in it, what's gluten-free, what is with nuts and allergens, what is dairy free, what is this, like a complete detailed guidebook. And then he literally, and then we bring it in front of them, and then they taste it, the servers, they all taste it. I have videos of them, where they take even notes. They're so interested in learning everything they can about it. We appreciate that so much, because we can only do so much, right? It's like them going out. If one person makes a mistake and says, oh yeah, it's gluten-free, and it's not. It could be a matter of life and death. Somebody could have celiac disease. So knowing from nutrition standpoint, even Brandon, like gloves, you know, we don't even use the same pan. We have a separate pan just to make the gluten-free things. Like, we are so careful about those. We take it very seriously, you know, and that all comes from him, really. I'm more of a little bit like, you know, loosey-goosey kind of person. It's, you know, attention to detail, structure, organization. So we actually make a good team.
Yeah.
Everything that I am lacking, like as far as like technical side, like social media, he responds to every review messages, and I love reading it. It's so, like, sometimes I just start crying because he's so heartwarming, you know.
Well, I know we need to close up. So would you say that your work also with your father helped? Definitely every single person feels that. Yeah, your heart and your Saji put into everything you do. And I think that's the true secret behind Mesa.
Actually, I'm 100%. Like, I mean, we would not have this restaurant. I mean, I was a doubter myself. You know, when we first started out, I told her, I don't think we should do it. Like, she used to complain about back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. Like, every part of her body was always hurt. She had headaches all the time. So I always used to say, like, do you really want to do it? Like, most of the moms and aunties and all this, they're retiring right now. Like, they're hanging out. Like, we don't need to go do this or anything like that. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be hard work and everything. But every day she comes in, she's excited. Like, you can ask all the servers, they all come and hug her. Like, everyone, she starts dancing with them. She starts doing like tapping on people. So people come in with a headache or a stomach ache, she's making them tea. So it's just like this infectious, loving energy that she gives to, first of all, our, like, the workers who are there and our team and our family. And then, of course, to the customers, like going out and talking to every single table. So, I mean, it's like purely like her energy is in that place. Like, I don't know, there's like so Mesa actually means table in our language. So, but there's like a little kind of a twist to it. It's like the me and then Sa, so her name's Saji. So it's like Saji's table, basically, is like what we were trying to say. So it's like literally, yeah. So
he came up with that idea too.
But she's literally, people are coming to her table. Like, we want people to come into like our home rather than it being like a restaurant per se. It's like you're coming to our home, like to our table. So
that makes me want to cry.
So, I mean, you know, Anthony Bourdain like wrote on his book, like, you know, restaurant, like it's the most, what do you say? It's the, a bunch of misfits, you know, find a place to belong. Like, they have structure, they have something to do. It keeps your mind, like, occupied. Even dishwashing, to me, it's so therapeutic to me. If I see somebody, like, the guy has, you should see when the guy comes in, like, he has like pots lined up on the floor, sinks full. Like, even us, we jump in and just help him or whatever. It's not like, oh, it's your job, or you know, whatever it takes to make it happen. Like, all that, it takes that kind of a thing. And people know we'll go to the ends to make everybody happy and make them you know, to feel belong and to be loved, you know. Like,
I think it's a good note. I have more questions, but I will just have to have you back also to talk about the clinic. And I think it's a beautiful marriage. I think everything, like you, Saji, was saying, how diligent you are about the nutritional parts or the allergens and everything. It's almost like not just to go eat to satisfy your hunger, but also to heal. Or not, right? And so it's I think it's a nice also little hook to continue. After a while, we should go and taste the menu. I think we were last time in December. Has it changed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're in the winter menu now.
So we went on vacation and came back, but that's already making me quite hungry. So, so let's enjoy some lunch together. Yes. And thank you for tuning in. I hope everybody gets a chance to have dinner at Mesa. Here in what's the address actually?
4260 Herschel Street.
4260 Herschel Street. Yeah. We'll definitely be there, and look forward to having you guys back on the show again, because Alexandra has more questions.
Oh, don't you?
I do as well. I think. Yeah, I do as well. But we'll talk, I think, next time about your dad's clinic that you do work with and some of the psychedelic research that's been coming out. And,
For sure.
I'm very,
Now Bill has more questions.
yeah, of course, I have more questions. So I think that's another fascinating topic, but definitely worthy of another whole hour.
Definitely.
So
Okay.
thank you so much
Yes,
for
you got it.
coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And
Yes.
looking forward to having lunch together.
Yes.
And thank you for tuning in. And
Thank you.
we'll be here each week. Last week we spoke with Jim Webb, and next week is to be announced, but you'll know within a day or two who we have on next week at 10:30.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Now it just starts the part where I figure out how to stop the
So do you have